The Galactic Council called it a peacekeeping operation. They sent 50,000 soldiers from a dozen different species to occupy Earth. They landed in every major city, expecting grateful cooperation. After all, the Council had voted. The decision was made. Civilized species accepted Council authority. Humans were not civilized by Council standards. Sergeant Kim Hyun stood on a rooftop in Seoul, watching alien soldiers patrol the streets below. He was 27 years old, trained in Earth's special forces and very angry. The Council troops wore armor that could stop bullets. They carried weapons that could level buildings. They moved in perfect formations, confident and unstoppable. Kim smiled grimly. Perfect formations made perfect targets. He pressed the detonator in his hand. 3 blocks away, a building collapsed onto a Council patrol. The aliens did not die easily, but buried under tons of concrete and steel. Even their advanced armor failed. Kim and his team were gone before the dust settled. They moved through tunnels that had been dug in secret over the past month. The Council controlled the streets. Humans controlled everything below. Across Earth, similar attacks happened every day. In New York, a truck bomb destroyed a Council command center. In Moscow, snipers picked off officers from hidden positions. In Beijing, resistance fighters poisoned the food supplies meant for occupation forces. The Council had never faced insurgency before. Their species either submitted to authority or died fighting in open battle. But humans did neither. Humans hid and waited and struck when the enemy felt safe. Colonel Yoon Taeyang coordinated resistance operations from a bunker hidden beneath the mountains. He was 45, a career soldier who had fought in 3 wars. He understood something the Council did not. Wars were not won by the strongest army. Wars were won by whoever refused to quit. Report from all sectors, Yoon ordered, studying maps that showed Council positions across Earth. His officers gave updates. European resistance cells had destroyed 12 supply depots. African fighters had ambushed a Council convoy and stolen their weapons. South American teams had sabotaged communication towers. Good, Yoon said. But we need to hurt them worse. We need to make them afraid. In an underground workshop, engineer Choi Yuna worked on captured alien weapons. She was 32, brilliant and angry enough to work 20 hours a day. The Council soldiers carried energy rifles that could cut through steel. Choi studied how they worked, then made them better. She removed safety limiters. She increased power output. She modified firing mechanisms to shoot faster. The weapons became unstable and dangerous, but they also became 3 times more effective. These will explode after about 50 shots. Choi warned the resistance fighters who came to collect the modified weapons. Then we will make those 50 shots count, they replied. Back on Omega, Prime Station, Dr. Park Minji sat in a cell designed for prisoners who needed to be kept alive but powerless. The walls were smooth metal. The door had no handle. Guards checked on her every hour. Today, her guards brought visitors. 3 Council researchers who wanted to understand human psychology. Why do humans resist? One researcher asked. The Council has overwhelming force. Resistance is illogical. Minji laughed bitterly. You think humans are logical? We are not. We are emotional. We are stubborn. We are vindictive. Do you know what spite is? It means hurting ourselves just to hurt our enemies. Do you know what vengeance is? It means remembering every wrong done to us and paying it back with interest. The researchers looked confused. One made notes on a device. Your species fight in formations that have not changed in thousands of years, Minji continued. Human tactics evolve every day. Your soldiers train for years before combat. Human civilians pick up weapons and fight with no training at all. You form bonds with your own species. Humans bond with anything, even the children of our enemies. She leaned forward, her voice intense. You made a mistake voting to enslave us. You should have left us alone. Because now humans will never stop fighting you. We will fight until we win or until we are extinct. There is no middle ground. The researchers left looking troubled. They reported their findings to the Council. The Council ignored them. The Council believed that more force would solve the problem. 2 years passed. The occupation dragged on. The Council sent more troops. Humans killed them. The Council sent better weapons. Humans stole them and turned them against their makers. The Council tried to win hearts and minds with aid and food. Humans poisoned the aid and burned the food. Every occupied city became a nightmare. Council soldiers could not trust anyone. The old woman selling food might have a bomb. The child asking for help might lead them into an ambush. The friendly human offering information might be feeding them lies. Sergeant Kim Hyun led his cell in increasingly bold attacks. They hit council bases in broad daylight. They assassinated high-ranking officers. They filmed their victories and broadcast them across Earth, inspiring other resistance groups. One night, Kim's team attacked a heavily fortified council headquarters. They used the modified weapons Choi Yuna had designed, 50 shots from each weapon. Then they threw the exploding rifles at the enemy and ran. The headquarters burned for 3 days. The council counted casualties. In 2 years of occupation, they had lost more soldiers than in the previous 1,000 years of all conflicts combined. Earth was supposed to be a minor operation. It had become their bloodiest war. Finally, the council made a decision. They would withdraw ground forces. They would blockade Earth from space instead. They would starve humanity into submission. Colonel Yoon Tae-yang received reports of the council retreat. His officers celebrated, thinking they had won. Yoon did not celebrate. He understood what a blockade meant. Earth would be cut off from resources. No trade, no supplies. Just slow starvation. We have won a battle, Yoon told his staff. But the war continues. Now we must find a way to break the blockade. In orbit above Earth, council ships formed a ring of steel. Thousands of vessels, weapons pointed down at the planet. They stopped every ship trying to leave or enter. Earth was a prison, but prisons could be broken. And humans, as the council was learning, were very good at breaking things they were not supposed to break. Deep in hidden facilities across Earth, scientists worked on a project that seemed impossible. They studied captured council technology. They examined faster-than-light drives that the council used to travel between stars. They tried to understand physics that Earth's greatest minds could barely comprehend. The first test of a human-built FTL drive killed 17 volunteers when the ship tore itself apart. The second test worked. Barely. The ship jumped 3 light years and arrived in pieces, but it arrived. Progress was measured in deaths and disasters. But progress was made. Humans learned through failure. They learned through sacrifice. They learned because the alternative was slavery. And humans had decided that death was better than chains. Commander Han Ji-woo, promoted to Fleet Admiral after the Battle of Luna Orbit, oversaw the FTL program. He visited the facilities where engineers worked themselves to exhaustion. He spoke at funerals for volunteers who died in test flights. He never asked anyone to take risks he would not take himself. "How long until we have working ships?" Han asked the chief engineer. 6 months for a prototype, the engineer replied. "Maybe a year for mass production." Han nodded. "The council thinks they have contained us. Let them think that. When we are ready, we will show them what contained humans can do." Above Earth, the blockade continued. Below, humanity prepared. The council had won the occupation by withdrawing, but they had not won the war. The war was just beginning. The great hall of Omega Prime Station stretched before them like a cathedral made of light and metal. Commander Han Ji-woo stood at the center, feeling the weight of 800 eyes watching him. Most of those eyes were not human. Han wore his military uniform, crisp and decorated with medals from Earth's last war. The war humans fought against themselves 20 years ago. That war had taught humanity many hard lessons. Now, standing before the Galactic Council, Han wondered if those lessons would save his species or doom them. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho sat behind Han, his old hands folded on the table. Kang had spent 30 years in diplomatic service. He had negotiated with dozens of alien species since humanity joined the Council 5 years ago. But today his face looked pale and tight with worry. Next to Kang sat Dr. Park Min-ji, Earth's chief scientist. She was young for such an important position. Only 29, but her mind was sharp as diamond. She had studied alien biology for years, trying to understand the thousands of species that filled the galaxy. Today, she needed to understand something different. She needed to understand why they wanted to enslave her world. The council chamber was filled with creatures from across the stars. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated in tanks of liquid or skittered on many legs. Some were covered in fur or scales or something humans had no name for. They represented civilizations that had existed for millions of years, while humanity had barely learned to leave their own planet. A voice echoed through the chamber, translated into every language by machines more advanced than anything Earth could build. The voice belonged to the speaker, a tall being made of crystalline structure that shifted colors as it spoke. The Council will now hear the case against the species known as humanity, the speaker announced. A creature stepped forward from the Veltharn delegation. The Veltharn looked like insects made large with hard shells and multiple arms. This one wore robes that marked him as a high official. We bring evidence of human violence, the Veltharn said. This species has a history written in blood. They fight constantly. They killed millions of their own kind in wars that lasted years. They built weapons designed only to destroy life. They even eat other living creatures. Images appeared in the air above the council floor. Scenes from Earth's history. Ancient battles with swords and spears. Modern wars with tanks and bombs. Cities burning. People dying. The images were real, pulled from Earth's own records. Han felt shame burn in his chest, but also anger. These aliens judged humanity without understanding. The worst part, the Veltharn continued, is their speed. In only 66 years, they went from first flight to landing on their moon. In only 200 years, they went from simple steam engines to nuclear weapons. This is not normal. This is dangerous. The council chamber filled with sounds. Clicks, whistles, electronic beeps. The universal translator labeled it all as agreement. Species after species nodded or made their version of agreement. Ambassador Kang stood slowly. His voice was calm but firm. Yes, humanity has fought wars. Yes, we have made mistakes. But we have also learned from them. We ended our last world war not with more violence, but with peace treaties and cooperation. We formed a united Earth government. We reached out to the stars seeking friends, not enemies. The Veltharn made a sound like grinding metal. Laughter, the translator said. You speak of peace while your commander wears a uniform decorated with medals of war, the Veltharn replied. You speak of cooperation while maintaining the largest military fleet of any newly joined species. Your words say peace. Your actions say violence. Dr. Park Minji stood suddenly, her voice sharp with emotion. You judge us for our history, but you know nothing of our nature. Humans fight, yes, but we also love. We create art and music. We write stories and build families. We protect those we care about, even strangers. We adapt and survive and grow. That is not a crime. The speaker raised a crystalline hand for silence. The council has heard the evidence. The council has heard the defense. It is time to vote. The question before us is simple. Should humanity be classified as a dangerous species requiring control and restriction? Should Earth be placed under galactic supervision with its military dissolved and its people directed by council authorities? Han felt his heart pound. They were using careful words, but the meaning was clear. Enslavement. They wanted to make Earth a slave world. The vote began. 847 species. 847 decisions about Earth's future. The numbers appeared in the air. Yes votes in red, no votes in blue. Red numbers climbed faster than blue. 500, 600, 700. The final count appeared. 731 species voted yes. 116 voted no. Earth would be enslaved. The speaker's voice filled the chamber again. The motion passes. Humanity will be placed under galactic control. Enforcement fleets will be dispatched to Earth within one standard cycle. Human military forces will surrender their weapons. Human governments will accept council authority. This is done for the safety of the galaxy. Ambassador Kang sat down heavily. Dr. Park Minji put her face in her hands, but Commander Han Jiwoo remained standing. His jaw was tight. His eyes were hard. Back on Earth, Captain Lee Bora received the news in the command center of humanity's flagship. She was young for a captain, only 31, but she had fought in the border wars with skill and courage. Now she read the council's decision and felt cold fury spread through her chest. All ships, she ordered, her voice steady despite her anger. Prepare for defensive operations. Load all weapons. Power up shields. If they want Earth, they will have to take it. 3 weeks later, the Veltharn fleet arrived at Earth's solar system. 2,000 ships, each larger than Earth's biggest vessel. They came with the confidence of predators who had never lost a hunt. Earth's fleet numbered only 300 ships. Small, simple vessels compared to the Veltharn war machines. But Captain Lee Bora did not order her ships to stand down. She did not open channels for negotiation. Instead, she gave an order that would echo across the galaxy. All ships, engage the enemy. Show them what happens when you try to enslave humanity. Show them we do not surrender. Show them we do not beg. Show them that humans fight. The Battle of Luna orbit began with a flash of weapons fire that lit up the dark of space. The Veltharn expected an easy victory. They expected humans to see their overwhelming force and submit. They were wrong. Human ships moved in patterns the Veltharn had never seen. They did not fight in neat formations. They scattered and reformed. They used the moon for cover. They struck from unexpected angles. And when their weapons ran dry, they did something that shocked every observer. They rammed their ships into Veltharn vessels. Captain Lee Bora watched from her command center as human ships sacrificed themselves. Each ramming attack destroyed both vessels, but the humans kept doing it. They aimed for the largest Veltharn ships, the command vessels, the carriers. They traded one human ship for 5 or 10 enemy ships. The Veltharn did not understand. No species did this. No species threw away their lives so freely. But humans were different. Humans knew that sometimes winning meant being willing to lose everything. When the battle ended 12 hours later, Earth's fleet was broken. 200 ships destroyed, thousands of humans dead. But the Veltharn fleet was gone. Every single ship either destroyed or fleeing back to Council space. News of the battle spread across the galaxy in days. The Council met an emergency session. The Veltharn demanded more ships, more forces. Other species argued for caution. But one thing became clear to everyone watching. The galaxy had voted to enslave Earth. But Earth had voted to fight. And humans, it seemed, did not know how to surrender. Pilot Shin Minho sat in the cockpit of the first mass-produced human FTL ship. He was 29 years old, one of Earth's best test pilots, and absolutely terrified. The ship around him was held together with welds that looked rough, systems that barely worked, and hope. All systems green, Shin reported, though his hands shook on the controls. Ready for jump. Admiral Nam Jisoo stood in the command center watching screens that showed 30 human ships preparing for their first combat mission. She was 48, hard as iron, and the architect of humanity's breakout strategy. For 6 months she had planned this operation. Now it was time to execute. All ships prepare to jump on my mark, Nam ordered. Her voice was calm, but inside she felt her heart racing. This mission would either prove humans could fight back or it would waste 30 ships and their crews. The target was the Veltharn homeworld's orbital stations. The same Veltharn who had pushed hardest to enslave Earth. The same Veltharn who had led the failed occupation. Nam wanted to send a message that the entire galaxy would hear. Jump, Nam commanded, space twisted. Reality bent. 30 human ships vanished from Earth orbit and appeared 300 light-years away. In the heart of Veltharn space, alarms screamed across every Veltharn station. Impossible readings showed enemy ships appearing from nowhere. The Veltharn had sophisticated defenses, layers of weapons and shields designed to stop any attack. But all their defenses pointed outward, expecting attacks to come from a distance. Human ships appeared inside the defensive perimeter. Pilot Shin Minho's ship came out of FTL jump less than a kilometer from a massive orbital platform. He did not bother with fancy maneuvers. He pointed his ship at the station and fired every weapon at once. Missiles, railguns, energy beams, everything. The station's shields flickered and died. Human weapons were crude compared to Council technology, but at point-blank range, crude was enough. The station began to break apart. All around Veltharn Prime, the same scene repeated. Human ships struck fast and close, using their FTL drives in ways the Council had never imagined. Council species jumped between star systems. Humans jumped into battle. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, 12 orbital stations were destroyed or crippled. 5 human ships were lost. The rest jumped back to Earth before Veltharn defense fleets could respond. News of the attack reached the Galactic Council within hours. Emergency sessions were called. Species demanded explanations. How had humans acquired FTL technology? How had they penetrated Veltharn defenses? Admiral Nam Jisoo provided the answer. She broadcast on all Council frequencies, her message reaching every species in the galaxy. You voted to enslave us. You attacked our world. You believed we would submit. We will not. Every species that participated in our enslavement is now at war with humanity. We will reach your worlds. We will not stop. Rescind your vote or face extinction. The Council's response was dismissive. They had thousands of worlds, millions of ships. Earth had barely 50 FTL-capable vessels. The math was simple. Humans could not win, but humans had never been good at math when it came to war. On Earth, the entire planet transformed into a war machine. Every factory, every workshop, every garage began producing parts for FTL ships. Workers volunteered for triple shifts. Engineers slept at their stations. The word impossible disappeared from the human vocabulary. Director Baek Jinho oversaw the industrial conversion. He was 51, a logistics expert who had managed Earth's supply chains during the occupation. Now he managed the largest manufacturing effort in human history. We need 500 ships operational within 6 months, Fleet Admiral Han Jiwoo told Baek. Baek looked at the numbers, at the resources, at the impossible timeline. Then he nodded. We will build you 500 ships in 4 months. They will not be pretty. They will not be safe. But they will fly and they will fight. True to his word, human shipyards produced vessels at a pace that shocked council observers. The ships were crude, dangerous to their own crews, cobbled together from whatever materials were available. But they worked. Captain Seo Hana commanded one of these new ships. She was 26, promoted rapidly through the ranks because experienced officers kept dying and someone had to lead. Her ship's FTL drive had a 30% chance of catastrophic failure on any given jump. Her weapons overheated after sustained fire. Her life support system made strange noises. She loved the ship anyway. It was hers. It was human, and it could reach any enemy anywhere. The human fleet grew from 50 ships to 500, then to 5,000. Each new vessel was slightly better than the last as engineers learned from failures. Each new captain was slightly more experienced as veterans trained recruits. Strategist Kwon Min-seo developed the grand strategy. She was 41, a former military advisor who understood that wars were won in planning rooms as much as battlefields. Her strategy was simple but brutal. Hit the enemy everywhere at once. Do not hold territory. Destroy infrastructure and leave. We cannot match council numbers, Kwon explained to Han and his officers. But we can make them defend everything. Spread them thin. Force them to protect thousands of worlds while we strike where we choose. The campaign began. Human strike forces attacked simultaneously across multiple sectors of council space. Sergeant Kim Hyun, freed when occupation forces withdrew, now commanded a ship. His target was Veltharn food production colonies. He destroyed fusion reactors and hydroponic farms, then vanished before defenders could respond. Other human fleets hit mining operations, trade routes, communication relays. They did not fight fair. They struck soft targets and avoided strong defenses. When council fleets tried to corner them, humans jumped away and appeared somewhere else. Engineer Choi Yuna's weapon designs became standard across the human fleet. Her innovation was simple but effective. Kinetic weapons, mass drivers that accelerated chunks of metal to incredible speeds. Energy shields could stop lasers and plasma, but they could not stop stupid, dumb matter moving fast enough to punch through anything. Council ships built to withstand advanced weapons found themselves vulnerable to what was essentially a thrown rock. A very fast, very heavy thrown rock, but still just kinetic force. Humans had rediscovered an ancient principle. When in doubt, hit it really hard. The galaxy's sophisticated defenses proved useless against human tactics. Board the ship. Ram the station, blow it up. Humans fought with a simplicity that bordered on stupidity. Except it worked. 6 months into the campaign, 70 species petitioned the council to rescind the enslavement vote. They had lost colonies, trade routes, resources. The human attacks were bleeding them dry, but the council's leadership refused to show weakness. Then cracks appeared in the galactic order. Minor species began secret negotiations with humanity. They offered intelligence about council fleet movements. They provided sanctuary for damaged human ships. In exchange, humans spared their worlds. The Margeth, a herbivorous species that had voted against Earth's enslavement, made the first public defection. Their ambassador met with Admiral Nam Jisoo in a neutral location. We offer you access to our trade networks, supply bases in our territory, safe passage through our space. In exchange, protect us when the council retaliates. Nam did not hesitate, agreed. Any council force that threatens your worlds will face the full might of Earth's fleet. You have our word. News of the Margeth defection spread. Other species watched and considered. The council had ruled for thousands of years, but they were not invincible. Humans had proven that. The galactic order began to crumble. Not quickly but steadily, like a dam with a crack that grew wider each day. The council tried to maintain control through force and fear. But humans had introduced a new element into galactic politics. Choice. Species could choose to stand with Earth against the Council. It was dangerous. It might mean destruction, but it was a choice. And choice was something the galaxy had forgotten existed. The Veltharn Collective met in emergency session. Their council chamber, once proud and confident, now felt like a tomb. Reports streamed in from across their empire. 30 colony worlds lost. Food production down by 40%. Their military stretched thin trying to defend everything while humans struck everywhere. The High Commander slammed multiple limbs against the table. When he spoke, rage filled every word. This cannot continue. We pushed for Earth's enslavement. Now Earth is destroying us. We must end this war before we have nothing left to defend. An advisor clicked nervously. We have tried negotiation. Humans refuse all contact. They attack and vanish. We cannot even find their main fleet to engage it. Then we use the ultimate weapon, the High Commander declared. We deploy stellar obliterators against Earth's sun. If we cannot control humanity, we will erase them. Silence filled the chamber. Stellar obliterators were ancient weapons, banned by council law for 10,000 years. They could ignite a star, turning it into a supernova that would destroy everything in a solar system. Using one meant crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. But the Veltharn were desperate. The vote passed. News of the Veltharn decision reached Earth through intelligence networks. Dr. Park Minji, released in a prisoner exchange 3 months earlier, brought the warning to Earth's War Council. The threat is real, Minji told the assembled leaders. The galaxy possesses weapons that can ignite stars. If the Veltharn deploy a stellar obliterator, Earth dies. Everyone dies. The planet, the sun, everything. Fleet Admiral Han Jiwoo studied the reports with a face carved from stone. He had led humanity through 2 years of war. He had watched thousands die. He had made impossible decisions. Now he faced the hardest choice of all: surrender Earth to save it or risk extinction. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some officers demanded immediate surrender. Others wanted to strike the Veltharn first. Everyone talked over everyone else. Strategist Kwon Minseo raised her hand for silence. When she spoke, her voice was calm and cold. There is a third option. Let them do it. The room went silent. People stared at her like she had gone insane. Kwon continued. For 6 months, we have been evacuating genetic material, cultural archives, and volunteers to hidden colonies throughout the galaxy. 10 million humans now live on worlds the Council does not know about. If Earth dies, humanity survives. Scattered, yes. Enraged, absolutely. But alive. Understanding dawned on faces around the room. Dr. Minji spoke slowly. You want them to kill our homeworld, because then we will have no reason to show mercy. Kwon nodded. Right now, Earth is our weakness. It is the one place we must defend. It limits our actions. But if Earth is gone, we become truly free. 10 million humans with nothing left to lose scattered across the galaxy. Absolutely committed to revenge. The Veltharn fear us now. They would learn real fear. The vote was close, but it passed. Earth would send a message to the Veltharn. A message that would echo across the galaxy and chill the blood of every species listening. Do it. The Veltharn High Commander received Earth's response and felt something he had never felt before. Not fear exactly, something deeper. Understanding that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans explained their position clearly. You can kill our cradle, but you have released us into your home. Earth is just a planet. Humanity is everywhere now. Destroy our homeworld and you remove the only thing making us cautious. Do you really want to face 10 million humans who have nothing left to lose? The Veltharn hesitated. Analysts ran simulations. Every simulation showed the same result. Destroying Earth would not stop the humans. It would unleash them. The stellar obliterator remained unused. For now. But Fleet Admiral Han Jiwoo did not wait for the Veltharn to change their minds. He had his own plan. Instead of defending, he would attack. Instead of waiting to be destroyed, he would destroy first. His target was Omega Prime, the station where the Galactic Council met. The same station where Earth had been condemned. Han would take 10,000 ships, surround the station, and choke it until the Council begged for mercy. The siege began with a massive FTL jump. 10,000 human vessels appeared in the space around Omega Prime. They did not attack the station directly. That would be quick, clean, and forgettable. Instead, humans cut every supply line. They destroyed every ship trying to bring food or water or air. They annihilated reinforcement fleets before they could reach the station. And then they waited. The council watched as human ships multiplied around them like a tightening noose. 1,000 became 2,000. 2,000 became 5,000. Every day more human vessels arrived. Every day the noose grew tighter. Inside Omega Prime, panic spread. The station held representatives from 800 species. Diplomats, officials, their families, 50,000 beings who suddenly realized they were trapped. The council sent messages demanding that humans cease their blockade. Han ignored them. The council offered negotiations. Han ignored them. The council threatened retaliation. Han laughed and tightened the blockade further. Months passed. Food ran low on Omega Prime, then water, then medical supplies. Species that had lived in comfort for thousands of years learned what hunger felt like, what desperation felt like, what fear felt like. Ambassador Kang Daeho had been imprisoned on Omega Prime since Earth's trial 2 years ago. He was older now, thinner, his hair gone white. But when council guards brought him before the assembly, his eyes burned with fierce satisfaction. The speaker's crystalline form had lost its luster. Its voice was weak. We wish to negotiate Earth's terms for ending the siege. Kang stood straight despite his gaunt frame. You want to negotiate now? After voting to enslave my species? After 2 years of war? After threatening to destroy our sun? We offer to rescind the vote, the speaker said. We will declare Earth free from all council authority. Not enough, Kang replied. Reparations then. Resources. Territory. Name your price. Not enough. The speaker's form flickered desperately. Then what do you want? We will surrender. Unconditionally. Just end this siege. Kang smiled coldly. Now you begin to understand. You see, humans do not want your surrender. We want you to remember. We want every species in this galaxy to remember what happens when you try to enslave humanity. He pulled out a document, Earth's terms written in multiple languages. The council listened as Kang read them aloud. The Galactic Council will be dissolved. A new council will be formed with humans holding permanent veto power. Slavery will be abolished across the galaxy. The Veltharn Collective will be placed under human military oversight for 100 years. Every species will teach their children about the human war as a warning. Outrage erupted in the chamber. Species that had ruled for millennia shouted protests, but their voices were weak, their bodies were hungry, and outside the station 10,000 human warships waited with infinite patience. The vote took place 3 days later. 847 species. This time every single one voted yes. They voted because they were starving. They voted because they were afraid. They voted because humans had taught them that some species could not be enslaved, only destroyed. When the vote was announced, Ambassador Kang Daeho stood before the council one last time. His voice carried throughout the chamber and across every communication channel in the galaxy. 2 years ago, you voted to enslave Earth. You believed we were dangerous. You were right. You believed we were violent. You were right. You believed we needed to be controlled. You were wrong. Because humans cannot be controlled. We can only be left alone or fought to extinction. You chose to fight. Now you choose to surrender. Remember this choice. Remember it for the next 1,000 years. Remember it every time you look at a human ship, every time you trade with human merchants, every time you see our flag flying on new worlds. Remember that you tried to enslave us. Remember that we made you beg. The siege ended. The blockade lifted. But the galaxy would never be the same. The council had fallen. Humanity had risen. And every species in the stars learned a lesson they would never forget. Some species surrender when conquered. Some species die when defeated. But humans do neither. Humans win. The new Galactic Council met for the first time in a chamber that still smelled of fresh construction. The old Omega Prime station had been renamed Unity Station, though some called it by another name. The station where humanity won Fleet Admiral Han Jiwoo stood at the podium wearing his military uniform. He was humanity's first galactic defense minister now, responsible for keeping peace across thousands of worlds. It was strange, he thought, how quickly roles could reverse. 2 years ago, he had stood in this same chamber watching his species be condemned. Today, he held the power to veto any decision the council made. The chamber was less crowded than before. Many species had lost their council seats when humanity reorganized galactic governance. Those who remained did so because they had either opposed Earth's enslavement or had made peace quickly when the war turned. Dr. Park Minji sat at the ethics committee table, reviewing proposals for the galaxy's new laws. Slavery was banned. Forced labor was banned. Conquest without consent was banned. Simple rules but revolutionary for a galaxy that had operated under might makes right principles for thousands of years. Today's debate centered on the Veltharn question. What to do with a species that had pushed hardest for war and lost completely? Sergeant Kim Hyun sat in the gallery, no longer a sergeant but a commander of peacekeeping forces. He listened as species argued about punishment versus mercy, his hands clenched into fists. His city had been occupied. His family had died in the resistance. When he looked at Veltharn delegates, he saw only enemies. Pilot Shin Minho spoke from the floor, representing the military perspective. His words were measured but firm. We fought to remain free, not to become what they feared we were. If we destroy the Veltharn, we prove them right. If we show mercy, we prove them wrong. I vote for mercy. Commander Kim Hyun stood abruptly. His voice shook with barely controlled rage. Mercy? My family is dead because of them. Millions of humans died. They tried to erase us. Now we should forgive them. They deserve extinction. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood Kim's pain. Many in the room had lost loved ones to the war. The question was whether humanity would let that pain define its future. Engineer Choi Yuna rose to speak. She had spent the war building weapons. Her designs had killed thousands. She understood violence and its consequences. We do not destroy them, but we do not forgive them either. We make them dependent on us forever. They lost the right to military forces. They lost the right to independent foreign policy. For 100 years, they will be supervised by human administrators. Their children will learn about the war in schools run by human teachers. They will rebuild under human oversight. It is not mercy. It is not vengeance. It is controlled. Debate continued for hours. Finally, Fleet Admiral Han Ji-woo called for a vote. The decision was his to make as defense minister, but he wanted the council's input. The vote was close. Species split between Shin's mercy, Kim's vengeance, and Choi's middle path. In the end, Han chose the middle path. The Veltharn would survive but would never again be independent. Human oversight for a century, then re-evaluation. Commander Kim stormed out of the chamber. He had lost his vote, but Han understood. Vengeance was seductive. It promised satisfaction, closure, justice, but it delivered only emptiness. Colonel Yoon Tae-yang, now overseeing the dismantling of species supremacist governments, met with Kim later that day. They sat in a quiet room overlooking Unity Station's vast windows. Outside, ships from 100 species moved in orderly patterns, following human traffic control. You are angry, Yoon said. That is good. Anger kept us alive during the occupation. But the war is over. Now we must build peace. Kim's voice was bitter. Peace with those who tried to enslave us? How is that justice? Yoon was quiet for a moment. Justice is complicated. The Veltharn who voted for war are being punished. Their society is being rebuilt. Their children will grow up knowing that humans are not to be enslaved. That is a kind of justice, not the kind that satisfies anger, but the kind that prevents future wars. Kim said nothing, but his hands slowly unclenched. Captain Lee Bora commanded humanity's first true peacekeeping fleet. 20,000 ships, the largest military force in the galaxy. Their job was not conquest but protection. Species that joined the new council received human military guarantees. Species that threatened peace received human military visits. Lee's fleet responded to its first crisis 3 months after the council's reformation. A militant species called the Krathi refused to abandon slavery. They had built their economy on forced labor and would not change. Lee gave them one warning. Free your slaves or face intervention. The Krathi laughed. They had never heard of Earth before the war. They did not believe human threats. Lee's fleet appeared in Krathi space 1 week later. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Krathi military was destroyed, their government in chains, and their slaves were free. Lee broadcast her message to the galaxy. The rules are simple. No slavery, no conquest, no genocide. Break these rules and humanity responds. We do not negotiate. We do not compromise. We do not forgive. Choose peace or choose war. There is no middle ground. Species across the galaxy watched and learned. Humanity's mercy had limits. Push those limits and face extinction. Years passed. 5, then 10, then 20. The galaxy changed. Trade flourished under human protection. Science advanced with cross-species cooperation. Art and culture mixed in ways never seen before. Humans were everywhere as traders, diplomats, explorers, teachers, and always as warriors. Strategist Quan Minseo, retired now but still consulted on major decisions, watched the changes with satisfaction. She had planned for war and won. Now she watched others plan for peace and hoped they would succeed. Director Baek Jin-ho transformed Earth's war factories into civilian industries. Ships that once carried weapons now carried cargo. Engineers who had built bombs now built stations. The transition was slow but steady. Earth healed. Captain Seo Hana, promoted to admiral, oversaw the expansion of human space. New colonies were established on worlds throughout the galaxy, not through conquest but through cooperation. Species offered worlds to human settlement in exchange for protection and trade. 50 years after the war ended, Dr. Park Min-ji stood in a classroom at the Galactic University on Unity Station. She was 79 now, her hair white, her hands wrinkled, but her mind still sharp. Before her sat students from 100 species, including 3 young Veltharn. Today's lesson was about the human war. Min-ji had lived through it, fought in it, and now taught about it. She spoke of the Council's vote, the occupation, the resistance. She spoke of battles and sacrifices. She spoke of humanity's choice to show mercy when vengeance would have been easier. One of the young Veltharn raised a claw hesitantly. His voice was small. "Professor, why did humans show mercy? My people tried to destroy yours. We deserved extinction." Min-ji smiled, tired but content. She had answered this question many times over the years, but it never lost its importance. "Because we wanted you to be grateful, not extinct. Fear makes enemies. Gratitude makes peace. Never forget, humanity could have burned the galaxy. Instead, we rebuilt it. That is not weakness. That is strength." She paused, her eyes sweeping across the young faces watching her. "But also never forget this. We can still burn it all down. We just choose not to. Remember that choice, honor it. Because humans are very, very good at holding grudges. We forgave you, but we will never forget. And if anyone tries to enslave us again, there will be no mercy. No negotiation. No second chances. Just fire and blood until nothing remains." The classroom sat in silence. The lesson was properly learned. Humanity's mercy was real. So was humanity's memory. After class, Min-ji stood at the window looking out at the galaxy humanity had reshaped. Ships moved peacefully through space. Species that had been enemies now traded freely. The threat of human intervention kept the peace better than the old council ever had. A new generation had risen. They did not remember Earth enslaved. They remembered Earth triumphant. They had never known occupation or desperation. They had only known victory. Min-ji wondered if that was good or dangerous. Humanity had learned hard lessons through suffering. Would their children remember those lessons without experiencing the pain? She thought of Han Ji-woo, retired now and living on a quiet colony world. She thought of Kang Dae-ho, who had died peacefully 5 years ago, finally able to rest. She thought of all those who had fought and died so humanity could remain free. Their sacrifice had bought peace. But peace was fragile. It required constant vigilance, constant effort, constant choice. Min-ji turned back to her desk. Tomorrow she would teach another class. She would tell the story again. She would ensure the galaxy never forgot, because humanity's mercy was eternal, so was humanity's memory, and that was exactly how it should be.